In the summer of 1812, the greatest military force the world had ever seen marched east. Led by a strategic genius who had never known true defeat, he felt invincible. Fast forward 2 centuries. A technological empire dictates the way the world communicates. Nokia, they controlled over 50% of the market. They were untouchable. But both fell into the exact same psychological trap. A trap called the success paradox. Welcome to the pivot point. Let's see how it all collapsed. To understand the fall, we must first look at the height. In 1810, Napoleon was not just a leader, he was a god of war. He had crushed every coalition against him, rewriting the map of Europe with every stroke of his pen. His past victories convinced him that his military machine was invincible, regardless of the terrain or the climate. Similarly, by 2007, Nokia wasn't just a company. It was the undisputed king of mobile. Every second person on the planet who owned a phone had a Nokia in their pocket. They had the best engineers, the biggest budget, and a brand that seemed bulletproof. But in the shadows of their boardrooms, a fatal pride was growing. They were so busy celebrating their past, they stopped looking at the future. June 1812. Napoleon crosses the Niemen River into Russia. He expected a quick, decisive victory within weeks. He didn't realize that his greatest enemy wasn't the Russian army, but the sheer vastness of the territory and his own logistical blindness. Almost 2 centuries later, in January 2007, another invasion began. Steve Jobs stood on a stage in San Francisco and introduced the iPhone. In the boardroom in Finland, Nokia's executives laughed. They called it a toy with no keyboard and terrible battery life. They were so confident in their dominance that they missed the moment the world shifted under their feet. The pivot point had been reached, and there was no going back. The winter of 1812 didn't just stop Napoleon, it erased his legend. The retreat from Moscow became a death march. Thousands of men perished not in grand battles, but from cold, hunger, and the realization that their leader was no longer a god. It was the same for the king of Mobile. Between 2008 and 2011, Nokia's market share simply evaporated. Tens of billions of dollars in value gone. Iconic factories that once hummed with innovation were silent. Thousands of loyal workers were shown the door. The corporate empire was bleeding out. Yet the boardrooms remained frozen, still trying to fix a broken past, while the world had already moved into the future. Napoleon Bonaparte died in exile on a lonely island, a shadow of the man who once held Europe in his palm. A century later, Nokia's mobile division was sold off for a fraction of its former value. 2 titans, separated by time, but destroyed by the same virus, the success paradox. They believed that because they were the best yesterday, they would automatically be the best tomorrow. They forgot that in a world of constant change, the only way to survive is to never stop evolving. Success isn't a destination, it's a fragile state that requires constant vigilance. So ask yourself, are you building on your past, or are you looking at the future? If you found this journey valuable, join us. Subscribe to The Pivot Point. Let's decode the moments that change everything. Thanks for watching.